Hello everyone and welcome back to another event here with Innumeris Education. My name is Niall Hannigan and I'm the PRO here at Innumeris Education, and delighted to be joined today by Ciara and Kieran Henderson. And today we're just going to have a bit of a chat about their experience with postgrad education, masters and postgrad as well, and diplomas, and just to find out a bit more about their experience and their thoughts behind it as well. So guys, thanks very much for joining us anyway.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, yeah.
Great stuff. So how are you getting on anyway? What are you keeping up to at the minute?
All good. I just started a new role. I'm a primary school teacher in Limerick, and I actually just started a new job today working on a supply panel in the city. So I'll work between 15 to 20 schools on a permanent basis. So really great. It's nice to be in the working world, having been a student working and trying to get by on the pennies that you earn as a student. So yeah, it's great.
Good stuff. What about yourself, Kieran?
Yeah, all good. I suppose getting back into the swing of things work-wise. Obviously enjoyed the Christmas break, and so working away now in PwC. I also started college, so started in about 2 weeks ago, which is year 2 of college part-time. So yeah, keeping quite busy.
Brilliant, good stuff. Sure, we'll get into all that now as well. And I suppose the restrictions were lifted there a few days ago in Ireland as well. So back to a bit of normality as well, along with the studies, I'm sure.
Definitely.
Oh, for sure. Brilliant. I don't know. I think mine are still, because the way it's done is lecturers come down from Northern Ireland to teach us in Marino Institute. So I think the plan still currently is to continue online, because obviously 2 different jurisdictions. But I guess we'll see how it goes.
Very good, great stuff. I suppose I'll start with yourself, Ciara. Anyway, I'll kind of go back to your thoughts coming up to do the bachelor, coming out of school and stuff. Just kind of talk me through what you kind of wanted to do and why you went for the course that you did.
Okay, so I studied French and Modern Irish in Trinity College in Dublin, and I was a little bit biased in where I went to college because my siblings had gone to Trinity and so did my dad. And when I was 12 or something, I was like, I'm going to Trinity, even though as I grew a bit older, I was kind of like, do I even want to go there? So in 6th year then, even though I had kind of said, all right, I want to go to Trinity, I said, right, I'll go take a look in Cork. There was a really interesting degree there. I think it was world languages. So you could study 3 languages postgrad, and I'd actually studied French and German for my leaving cert. So I was quite interested in taking on that approach. But when it came to, I was like, no, you know what, I actually want to go to Dublin. I wanted to study French and Irish in Trinity. So I'd had a chat. My sister-in-law is also a primary school teacher, and I'd had a chat with her. Limerick is one of the cities that has one of the teaching colleges, like Marino and St. Patrick's Mary Immaculate College. So a lot of people in my year who wanted to be primary school teachers were going straight to Mary I, literally across the road. You could get dropped the same place for 6 years and then go to Mary I for another 4. But I just didn't really want to go straight into primary teaching. I knew I always wanted to do it, but did my undergrad degree in French and Modern Irish, and then I actually went to Belfast, Northern Ireland, to do a 1-year postgrad. So that was kind of my reasoning behind my undergraduate. Knew I really loved French, was my favorite subject, and then I knew Irish would be really helpful for the future.
Very good. Yeah, it's nice to hear kind of a refreshing way as well going into teaching. A lot of people would just head in straight first, but I suppose having the experience and having the passion for languages as well beforehand probably stayed you in good stead, I suppose, teaching the youth of the country now. So
definitely, and I think it's so interesting. I wouldn't have known about the course in Belfast had it not been for my sister-in-law. And now, I'm working in different schools every day, and every staff room I go in, they say, oh, have you just graduated? And I said, yeah, but not from Mary I, graduated from the North. And most of them, I would say 99% of them, have not heard that there's another route of going to teaching rather than just going in straight for your 4 years or going in to do the PME. So I think it's definitely something that I'm trying to spread around Limerick with, the schools that I'm in touch with, to say, there are other options. And, with our mentoring program here at Innumeris, it's something that I'm always saying to our students is that you might think there's just one route to becoming a teacher or an accountant or a lawyer or whatever. There's lots of routes, and it's only with hindsight, I'm sure all of us will agree, that we have friends now working in jobs that they never thought they'd be working in and didn't plan to go into. So I think I definitely went about it a different way, but got back to where I wanted to be in the beginning anyway.
Definitely, and I definitely resonate with what you're saying there about, that there's different paths into different careers. I mean, we all get that talk when we're 16, 17, and to be honest, I never believed them. But when you are in the middle of it, then it is true. And you just find your path eventually, and it's that never a straightforward route. So it's great to hear that, I suppose, and the experience that you've had. Kieran, just to kind of take a look at yourself now as well, and to go back to kind of when you were looking to go into college, just talk me through kind of your thought process going into the bachelor's degree.
Sure. I suppose when I was in school, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do for a long time. I was probably like a lot of students around me. You kind of float through the different ideas. 1 minute you want to be a journalist, next minute you want to be a teacher. Next thing you want to be a doctor. It just depends. I probably got into 6th year, and I knew broadly I wanted to go to college. That was something that my mum had instilled in me from a young age. It was like, go to college, get your proper third level education. But I didn't know where I wanted to go, so I would have went around through the different open days, and I went to Maynooth open day, and I think straight away I just fell in love with the place. I was like, yeah, I think this is the place for me. I just want to come here. I don't know what I want to do, but I know I want to come here. So I guess the next step then was kind of figuring out what it was I wanted to do. So it was actually one of the teachers in school said, well, they have the arts program in Maynooth. You can try many different subjects, and you can get a feel for different subjects and see what you'd like. So I said, okay, well, I guess I'll do that then. So I applied for the arts program in Maynooth. I got it. I went into my head broadly thinking I was going to do history and English, and I was like, I had to try a third subject, and I ended up trying law. So I was like, well, okay, I'll see how that goes. And I actually ended up really liking law. So then I decided, okay, I'm going to take law as my main subject, and I wanted a secondary one with that. So I actually ended up going with business, just because I liked business. It was one of my better subjects in school, and I thought like law and business would be quite a good degree. So I ended up transferring into law and business then in 2nd year, and graduated with a degree in that. And I suppose from there, the thought went from, okay, I've done a lot of generalized stuff here with law and business. There's so many different aspects to each. Do I want to try and specialize in a certain area? So I suppose that was how the masters came about, and I ended up settling for global legal studies, which is sort of like mainly focuses on international law, but also had a look at the likes of GDPR and privacy law, which I thought was quite interesting. So I went from there and graduated then with the masters as well.
Definitely, very good. Now it's interesting to hear that the path that you went as well, about not being sure, because a lot of students can relate to that as well, and you kind of figuring your way out as well. Just when you mentioned there about, when you finished the bachelor degree, what was the kind of the motivation for carrying on to do the masters? And then kind of when you did find the area that you wanted to narrow down, what were your thoughts behind that?
To be honest, I think in Maynooth, I really came out of my shell and just self-actualized. Like, I think when I was in school, I suppose a big reason as to why I probably struggled to narrow down what I wanted to do was because I probably lacked the motivation to really sit down and have that clear focus and say, well, okay, this is the 5-year plan, 10-year plan, this is what I want to do in the future. I think it was when I got to Maynooth, and I suppose I was around a lot of like-minded people who you're in the same boat as me, who have just come into college, but maybe have a clearer plan as to where they want to be in the next few years. I think that in itself is quite motivating. So I would say I really took off in Maynooth, and I got heavily involved with extracurricular activities, and I just really loved my time there. And I thought, well, from a social aspect, I want to continue, but also from an academic standpoint, it's going to hold me so much to have a master's, because masters at the end of the day really can help you stand out when it comes to job prospects, especially with a degree like law and business. It's a lot of people would have a degree in law, or a lot of people might have a degree in business. So it's okay, what are you going to do to help you stand out a little bit more? Masters in a specific area might help with that, and it helped me. It ultimately got me the job I'm in today. So
definitely, no, it's great to hear that. And I suppose the points you mentioned about the people that you were surrounded by is so important. I think we can all relate to that as well, where you need to be in an environment where you're performing at a high level, but also enjoying yourself at the same time, and having that balance is very important, I suppose, even in study and definitely in work as well.
I think just one thing that Kieran said there that I thought was really interesting, and probably a lot of people who are going to watch this video are students in secondary school who are totally in that I don't know what I want to do phase, and it's so hard to narrow down what you want to do. But two things Kieran said. One of the things he said was business was something he was really good at in school, and usually that correlates to something that you like, and then you're good at it because you put in more time into it. So that's something for students to think about, what they like doing and what they might enjoy doing. And another thing was you were saying about self-actualizing in university, and that is something that happens to everybody, and it's only as you get a little bit older, and I'm 24, I'm not 60, so I haven't had all this time to think back and reflect. But I definitely think that's a hard thing to do when you're in sixth year and you've all the stress and the pressure of getting to college. But I said that to my mentees. I was like, guys, if you take 10 minutes and just think about what things would you like to do, even an hour, you know, that's, I think, probably so important. And maybe, Kieran, if you'd had that opportunity, you know, and if we'd all had that opportunity, we might have done things a little bit differently. But it also goes to show that you don't have to do that, because you can end up where you want to be, you know, whichever route you go.
Definitely. No, I think like I love the self-actualizing point, like it's bringing the theory to life. You always hear about it, like, but you never actually know how.
That's it, yeah. That's literally it. Like, I suppose I remember even doing Maslow's in secondary school and not thinking too much about it, and then I suppose it's easy, you know, when you can look back and you've kind of, you know, you realize how far you've come, and, you know, just even the job and stuff that you have compared to probably where it was in school. Like, I'm proud of it, obviously, and obviously, you know, again, you mentioned about your mentees. Like, I want the same for my mentees as well. Like, that they can go off and they can look back at themselves in a few years and say, wow, I've come a long way.
Definitely.
Just kind of to touch on, you know, your experience education wise as well. You know, you both studied in the south and the north. You know, I'm the same. I did my undergrad in Queen's and now in UCD. How do you see any differences at all between them, or are you really happy that you went and experienced a different college away from home and stuff like that there? Or what's your opinion on that?
So I suppose I did a 1-year postgrad in Belfast last year. So I was actually in Queen's, I was in St. Mary's. And I think I had a very different experience because I did it during the pandemic. I went up and was told, oh, it'll all be in person on a Friday, and moved my whole life to Belfast. And then on the Sunday, they said, so we'll start tomorrow online, and had a little, you know, crisis, but got through it. But yeah, definitely very different. I'm not sure, maybe Kieran would have a better interpretation of it because he's been studying kind of the same thing across the border, we'll say, or, you know, across the two places. But I found definitely very different. Doing primary teaching, maybe it's a lot more kind of in person, and it's a lot more about connection, whereas my undergraduate degree, you know, my lecturers were some of the most intelligent people in the country, but they really wanted to focus on their research. So it sometimes felt like you were just, you know, an extra part of their day, their to-do list, that, you know, you have to be there for their tutorials, and, you know, they'll be there for as long as they have to be, and then they'll go back to their research. And I think when I went into my postgrad, I started being a little bit like that my research was so important. And I saw then, you know, what role that had to play in my undergraduate degree, but definitely very different. I think I had attended the Catholic College in Belfast, which is obviously going to have its own connotations and its own, you know, values and differences, compared to Trinity, which was a really, you know, diverse university, people of all backgrounds, all nationalities. Whereas my postgraduate degree was also through the medium of Irish, so it quite limited the people that could be on the course. So I would say I had a very kind of narrow viewpoint in terms of, you know, language and culture, but that it was also super interesting to go to Belfast and learn about Irish culture there and Irish language, and I would have had a big interest in linguistics and political linguistics and stuff. So that was really interesting to see across the border.
Yeah, I suppose in terms of my own, so like I would have done the first master's in Maynooth and currently ongoing study part-time through Ulster University, and we're actually satellite students here in Dublin. So if the college was open, we'd be in class in Marino Institute, but it's currently online. So I suppose I've had both perspectives in terms of masters. In terms of, I had the masters in Maynooth, which was in person, and that was like almost like a classroom. You know, you felt like you had almost a personal relationship with the lecturer because you could ask questions, you could speak to them afterwards. It wasn't like the undergraduate, you know, where there might be 200-300 people in a lecture hall and you could sit and listen for an hour and then you go home. But you know, the Ulster one is very much, it's all online, and even the way it's taught is very different. So the way it's done for me is that I'd have one module at a time, and I'll have 4 full days for each module. So we essentially 9 to 5 for those 4 days, and you know, you're getting a lot of information thrown at you because it's essentially a whole module, the whole like core, whole module, semester's worth of content. So you know, that's obviously quite a lot in itself, but you know, it's had probably benefits and disadvantages. I mean, from being online, of course, there's, you know, some people, you know, might have to commute very far to go to college. fortunately don't have to. I can sit at my desk and I can do a lecture and then I'm done. But then obviously you're missing out on the social aspect of it. You're not getting a chance to meet new people, because it's very difficult to do that when you're online and you're looking at someone through a camera. But I think both perspectives have had both positives and negatives, but ultimately they've both been very, very good so far.
Definitely, it's interesting you brought up kind of the social side of things and getting to know people from different backgrounds. Like even Ciara, you mentioned that as well. Like that's all part of it and part of your education as well. That you might not think, but inadvertently you're picking up all this information and kind of getting used to the new surroundings that you have as well. So, I mean, taking all that on board as well as the education side of thing is so important, and definitely going to different locations to try that is brilliant. Just you mentioned there, Kieran, one point about like the workload and the autonomy that you might have had as well. Like, how do you think that changed when you went from bachelor to masters?
Sorry, Kieran, go first.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I suppose
the names are so similar. I'm so sorry.
It's an easy one, but I guess I'll crack on. I would say that, first of all, for myself, when I went to do a master's, the motivation straight away was way higher to do well, because I think, if you look at the difference between maybe a master's and a bachelor's, a master's costs a lot of money. So, you've worked hard through your bachelor's. I was fortunate to benefit from Susie, where I didn't have to pay for my bachelor's, whereas for my master's, I actually had to pay a significant chunk of it. So obviously right there's the incentive, like, okay, I need to really get my head down and work hard. But I suppose I had quite a good balance in terms of, like, I had a good part-time job that really worked around me. So, because at one point in semester 2, I was doing a 2-day placement. I had a day of lectures and also a part-time job. So it was essentially 6 days a week where I was too busy to do anything. But it's just, yeah, it's just the way it is. I mean, like some people can relate to that. It's just what you have to do if you want to go on further. But I suppose the workload personally for me wasn't too strenuous, because a lot of it's continuous assessment compared to the bachelor's, where you'd probably have exams. And for me, I prefer to sit down and write an essay in my own time than sit in an exam hall and try and do one. It's just, some people prefer exams. It just depends on your own perspective. But for me, definitely preferred the CA element. So that straight away was quite helpful. And even getting the fact to do a placement, that was a whole module in itself. That was such a great experience, like, that I got to sit in an office environment for 3 months and just kind of broadly understand even just being a legal executive. And, like, again, that helped me when I was applying for my job. They were very interested in the placement that I had done. So I guess to summarize, there's definitely an increase in workload from a bachelor's to a master's. But for me, of course, I picked a master's and picked modules that I thought I'd be interested in. So the motivation is there to do well, and obviously the financial aspect of it. Naturally you're gonna want to sit down and work hard, because the master's is also the differentiator for a lot of jobs. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, very good. And Ciara, what about yourself?
That's so funny, because I was like, I don't remember mentioning the workload. But just going on from what Kieran said, I think definitely the motivation for me was very different as well when I started my, because it was right here. You've had 4 years of college, 3.5 was in person, and then 6 months online with the pandemic. And it was like, right, this is where you're really, actualizing what you've always wanted. Like, I've always wanted to be a primary school teacher. I've always had whiteboards in my bedroom since I was young, and it was like, this was what I wanted to do. So definitely, I think my motivation was higher. Again, like Kieran, the money you're spending, you're like, right, I got to pass everything, and I got to pass everything with flying colors, because there's a lot of money going into this. Also, numbers wise, there was only 20 people in my course. So, and we were dealing with like the top pedagogical team basically in Northern Ireland and in Gaelscoil teaching. So that was like really, really big for us. And for me, I think I really tried to benefit from that. I was living by myself. I couldn't socialize. I didn't have that many friends in the north. Whereas in Trinity in Dublin, I was off every night of the week doing something different. I was like here with, 2 or 3 jobs when I was in 3rd and 4th year, socializing, all those things. And then when I went and did my postgrad, it was like, right, Ciara, time to settle down, time to, spend the extra couple of hours doing the essay that I mightn't have done when I was in my undergrad. I was a great person for the old procrastination and then getting into the 24-hour library and knocking out an essay. So I think definitely the postgrad or the master's, your motivation is a lot higher. It's usually what you want to go into, the field of work that you want to go into. So you're willing to give it the time and energy and effort because you know that it's a stepping stone to the exact place you want to go.
Very good. Just a question that I was thinking about there when both of you were talking about, obviously, Kieran, you went from Maynooth to Maynooth in terms of the masters. Was there much support there from the university itself in terms of how you could kind of navigate your career, I suppose, through a master's program, or was it kind of your own backing and your own, research in terms of the program that you wanted to do?
There was an academic counsellor on hand, which I'd went to a few times because, even when you're doing a master, I suppose you're still trying to think about, well, what do I want to do when I've done the masters? So, obviously, realistically, I'm trying to think of job prospects. I'm doing law. I'm in the law and kind of business bracket, so I'm weighing up all the different jobs that are available to me. And I suppose would have went a few times just to kind of get general advice and really just sit down with someone and put down on a piece of paper, okay, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. Let's try and find something here that I'm really going to like and can really benefit. So that was something that I availed of, which was very helpful. When I went to Maynooth initially through my bachelor's, I went in through the access program, so I was able to avail of the HERE scheme, which was fantastic, from a financial perspective, in terms of getting we used to get book vouchers every year, and then there was financial support in first year, so that was obviously really good. But yeah, no, masters, that was, I suppose, the academic council was kind of the main thing. Probably didn't avail of much else. For second semester, I wasn't on campus that much, so I suppose I didn't really have to avail of much more. But it's not for saying that the support wasn't there. It certainly was, especially I think Newton Library used to give a lot of different talks on for students that are not only doing undergrad but their masters, which I know people availed of and said they were quite good. So there was definitely sports there.
Very good stuff. And Ciara, what about yourself? Did you ever waver off the primary school teacher path whenever you graduated there with the bachelor, or were you always focused on doing that?
I think when I would have wavered a little bit would have been in sixth year, actually, in school more so. I was big into drama and theatre at the time, and my sister had studied drama and theatre and French in Trinity. And then there was the program in the Lyric Academy, which is pure acting, and that was kind of really something that I was thinking about as well. But my thought process behind that was, okay, I can go off and try this acting, and then in 5 years, I'm going to go back and do teaching anyway, because I just knew that it was something that I had a calling that I really wanted to do. So I think definitely, when I was in sixth year, I would have been like, right, is it languages or is it acting and theatre and stuff? And then when I chose my languages, I kind of never really knew I was going to go to Belfast until I think it was the summer or the January of third year in college, right? And had applied or had everything ready. It was final year, actually. It was January of 2020, and was like, right, I'm going to go to Mary I and do my master's in primary teaching here. And was out in the library in UL doing my final year project with a friend of mine, and someone came over. They're like, oh, thank God I handed in my application yesterday because today was the deadline. And I heard that and I was like, oh, my mom's going to kill me because I haven't applied. So I think then I was like, right, let's get Belfast up and running. And, I wasn't worried if I wanted to wait a year. I could have done it in Limerick as well. But always teaching was there while I was doing my French and Irish. But it also left me open to deciding whether I wanted to do secondary teaching because, with French and Irish, that would have been an option. And genuinely, I wasn't sure which one I wanted to do when I was in sixth year. Again, it would have been like, oh, do I want to do secondary? And then when I went into primary teaching, I was like, no, this is where I want to be. But, again, in terms of change, I wouldn't be surprised. I found an email today from one of my linguistics lecturers. I was like, oh, maybe I'll do a master's in linguistics out of nowhere, So I think that's a really good thing that Kieran probably found, and yourself, that when you've gone through education, you just want to keep learning. And that's me now. I'm like, oh, I just want to keep reading more and learning. And as a teacher, that's what I'm trying to instill in my students, is that love for lifelong learning, that, okay, you might not actually like maths or fractions, but it'll really help you. And if you learn about this, it can help you in other things. So, I think I was definitely on the path for teaching. I just wasn't fully sure how I'd get there until I missed Mary I, and then I got Belfast, and everything happened for a reason. So it worked out well for a finish.
That's a mad story. That's
oh, the stress coming home from the library. I didn't even tell my parents. I went to my brother's house and I was like, how do I tell mom and dad that I haven't applied? And he was like, you don't tell them. He was like, just wait a while. And then I was like, I really want to go to Belfast. They were like, why a change all of a sudden? So, but it all worked out. It all worked out.
Yeah, definitely. Everything happens for a reason, as you said. That's mad. So it is.
Mhm.
I suppose like one of the last questions I have or kind of topics is, you know, the benefits that the masters have given you. Obviously, in your situation, Ciara, you were kind of changing in terms of the area you wanted to go into. And you can see now that you were discussing earlier about, you know, how a lot of the schools are actually looking at your background and thinking it's brilliant how, you know, diverse it is in terms of having that bachelor's rather than just the primary degree.
Yeah.
With yourself, Kieran, at PwC, how do you think that masters helped you, and they're obviously supporting you as well with the current masters, but do you think that just gives you that bit of an edge, or what's your opinion on the benefits of it?
Well, I suppose for the specific job I went for, they actually wanted someone with experience with a master's. So that alone obviously really helped out. Because, you know, if I hadn't done a master's, I wouldn't have been able to probably get the job. So, you know, that in itself is obviously a great thing. And a lot of jobs I would have went for around the time actually wanted someone with a master's. So, you know, and like even looking broadly as well after undergrad, I would have seen that and thought, well, okay, just another reason to do a master's. But you know, I said it earlier, like my law and business degree was very generalized. You know, there was so many different aspects of both that I got, which was great in many ways. But you know, naturally, there's going to be modules that I don't like as much as others. So, doing the masters was, you know, giving me the opportunity to specialize and do something that I'm interested in, and you know, focus on a more specific aspect of law in particular, but also with some elements of business that my masters would have given me. And you know, again, having the chance to do a placement during my masters was, it just held in such good stead, because I probably struggled to get, like, you know, proper like legal experience when I was doing my undergraduate, and up until that point, you know, it was difficult. So I think just even again having that on the CV for me was huge in terms of getting the job that I wanted. Like I really believe that having a master's, and especially getting a good degree, a good grade, will just open so many doors to you compared to undergraduate. Now, don't be wrong, I'm not saying that master's is the absolute way to go and get a job in your field. Absolutely not. Like, of course, some people can do an undergrad and still end up somewhere really good. But you know, from a job prospect, a master's is great to have, but also just from an interest as well, just learning specifically about more subjects or for more modules, and really kind of figuring out what is you're passionate about and what you're really interested in. I ended up writing a dissertation on defamation law, which again was a field of law that I was quite interested in, but never really got to experience in my undergrad. So I had the opportunity to look into it and research and do a lot through that. So, and you know, that ended up being very rewarding in the end, because I got a first in it. So, like, you know, that was great. So, you know, I'd strongly recommend to anyone out there who's doing an undergrad and wants to stand out, to if they can afford it, and if they can get the sports they need through it, to absolutely go and do a master's. Because like I don't think I'd be sitting in my current job if I didn't do one. So that alone is such a great reason. So yeah.
Very good. No, it's great to hear, like, that you can kind of pursue your interests even more in a master's, and that's kind of the opportunity that it gives you as well. You know, you really can narrow down and kind of focus on what you really want to do. Anyone going to be a doctor at all over the next few years, or
no, not yet.
Who knows? I mean, I'm not sick of college just yet, so you never know.
Very good. Just suppose last notes, you know, Kieran, you touched on a bit of advice as well, but Ciara, do you want to kick it off in terms of any advice or tips you may have for, you know, leaving cert students younger, or even people that are going through their bachelor's now at the minute?
I think my advice would just be, find out what you actually don't like doing, because if there's things that you really don't like, that's going to help you a lot to decide what you do like. If there's subjects that you're doing this for 6 years, if there's subjects that you're doing for your leaving cert that you feel are kind of easier, or you enjoy doing them more, you enjoy studying them, then maybe look into the field of that. Because when you go on to do your undergrad, while it might be general, we'll say if you're doing a language, I have experience in languages, so, you know, if I hadn't enjoyed studying French grammar for my leaving cert, I was definitely not going to enjoy my 4-year undergrad studying French grammar and literature, etc. So I think just look into the subjects that you like. also I take a look at courses online and what's actually involved in them, because I didn't do that at all. I didn't know what kind of modules I'd be doing. I was very unprepared. And I think that might have maybe, had a good impact on me had I done that. Yeah. And also just don't worry, like you're going to get to where you want to be. I've lots of friends who haven't gone to university who are just as happy, if not happier, than people who have. And while I'm a big advocate for, my undergraduate degree was great and my postgrad have really helped me to get to where I am, I think everybody gets there in the end. But, if you're able to, as Kieran was saying, if you're able to, continue your study, then definitely do, and look into Susie and, the different grants and scholarships that are available, because I know a lot of people might say, no, can't do masters, I can't afford it, but there are helps out there. Taking a loan at 21 or 22 to do a master's might be very daunting, but the difference, as Kieran was saying, that master's will make to you in your job will be worth paying back that loan when you start. But yeah, just try and find something that makes you happy. And, if you're not happy doing something, don't be afraid to change. I loved hearing Kieran there saying that he moved, swapped courses in second year. And I think a lot of people are very daunted doing that. But don't be, it's your life. And while college might say, oh no, you can't change course, the world's yours, you can do whatever, there are always ways around things. And yeah, I think just find something that makes you happy, makes you feel good.
Definitely brilliant advice. Kieran, what about yourself?
Oh, I don't know. I think Ciara was looking at my notes. She said everything that I was thinking. But I suppose I say to the lads, the mentees, the 6 years and 5th years that I have, is that don't worry, you don't have the answer. You're not going to have the answer right away. Absolutely not. I didn't have the answer probably till the end of my masters. You just, it's so hard to really know. Yeah. Because there's so much out there, and there's so many different subjects to try, so many things that might interest you. Ciara is absolutely right when she says have a look at the things that maybe don't interest you and rule them out, because then you can go from there. I suppose what really helped me, as speaking to the undergraduates, was that I got heavily involved in a lot of different things that I wouldn't have probably even considered doing when I was in school. I was heavily involved in the Access program, and in terms of being an ambassador for future students that came into the college, to be kind of a point of contact for them and show them the ropes of Maynooth and kind of try and inspire them to go on and enjoy themselves and get the degree that they want. So I suppose in doing that, I probably would have faced a lot of fears, and that probably held in good stead for me in terms of just general confidence and having the self-belief to go off and do get not only the undergraduate degree, but to believe that, I could go ahead and do a master's. I think if I looked at the 17-year-old Kieran that was in school, I probably wouldn't recognize him. I think he'd be a very different person. So, but I think again, Ciara said earlier, it's part of growing up, and people do tend to mature a bit and realize that, okay, well, I'm here for a reason. This is my future. But I suppose even just in terms of grades, undergrads, if you don't get the degree you want, don't worry about it. In terms of grade, it's not the end of the world. I don't think I did as well as I could have in my undergraduate, for sure. I definitely could have got a higher grade. There's a myriad of reasons for that, but it wasn't the end of the world. I suppose that's why I went on and did the masters as well, and it got a much better degree, a degree that was more reflective, I'd say, of my capabilities as an individual. So that's definitely one piece of advice. If the undergrad maybe doesn't work out the way it should, don't think, oh, I'm just going to give up now and I'm going to leave college and never come back. If you know that you're capable of going off and doing something well in this world, go and do what you need to do. And that might necessarily be a master's. It could be whatever your calling is. But if it is the master's, go and get it done if you can, and just give it your all, because I gave it was only a year at the end of the day for me. I gave it my all for a year, and it's got me working for a company that I really enjoy working for, and a company again that I probably wouldn't have thought I'd work for, maybe when I started college. So I suppose that's my pearls of wisdom.
Brilliant. Anyway, look, I think
Niall, have you any wisdom for us?
Oh God, no. I don't know. I agree with everything you were saying. I think the most important thing, I think, is definitely the people that you meet, and throwing yourself in the deep end as well, in terms of you're really in a bubble when you're in secondary school. You're with people that you're either playing sport with, or you live beside, and you're with them every day, and you all have the same interests. But really kind of getting out there, meet people from all around the country, from international students as well. Being able to get to know kind of their culture and the reasons behind what they do and what they're interested in is huge, and it makes the world a lot smaller as well. And if there are opportunities abroad that you want to do, you can really go for it as well at the same time. And a lot of these bachelor degrees, have opportunities to go abroad and study abroad, and as well as the master's program. So I think just kind of combining all of that, along with the workload and doing something that you're really interested in is great. But it's just trying to find a balance between everything, and making sure that you're getting the work done as well at the same time. So I think that's it for me anyway for tonight. So
good advice.
Great stuff. Look, if you have nothing else to add there, I think we'll wrap it up. That was brilliant. So it was. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom, as Kieran was saying. And it's great to hear the different paths that you took in order to get to where you are now. And that we're kind of re-emphasizing again, I suppose, that there's no straightforward path to anything that you want, and you think you might have it all worked out at 50 or 60 or even by the end of your bachelor's, but there's always another twist or turn in the road. Like you might miss a deadline for an application or something like that. I don't know if that happens to anyone.
If you're disorganized.
Anyway, thanks very much anyway, and hopefully you come back for another event sometime.
For sure. Thanks,
Niall.
Great host.
Thank you.